Welcome to Storytime, etc. We try to post scary stories every day, so please subscribe and hit the bell button to get notified. Story 1. Haunted Church and Church Entity. My name is John, and this happened when I was 10 or 11 years old, so it would be around 1978 or 1979. While I was younger, I was involved with the church, and this happened one Sunday morning while I was helping set up for Mass. I was the only one in the building setting up when I heard a loud bang coming from the choir loft at the other end of the building. Curious, I stepped out from where I was and called out, "Hello," and there was no answer. So, I figured that the person just didn't hear me and was just doing what they needed to do and getting ready. I was looking up towards the choir loft to see if I could see the person, and there was no one there, and figured that something had just fallen down and the noise just echoed throughout the church. I was just going through the normal rational ideas to come up with a reason for what I had just heard. Right then and there I had a feeling that I wasn't alone. Normally I wouldn't have minded because I figured that the organist came in early to get ready, but this was different. I had this uneasy feeling that not only was my life was in jeopardy but my soul. It was a fear that I never felt before or since. As I was looking up at the choir loft, I couldn't see anyone, yet I could sense that there was something up there. It then appeared to me. It was a shapeless and formless figure, and it was exuding, or giving off, this evil that just penetrated through me like sound would at a concert if you were standing too close to the amps. What I felt went way beyond the fight or flight reaction people talk about when faced with a situation like this. I was frozen there beyond being scared, and my mind didn't process things for a few seconds. Then all of a sudden, I guess my mind snapped back to reality, and I just ran and took off out of the church and stayed there until I saw the priest came out of the rectory and started going over to the church. I didn't realize how far I ran until I started walking back to the church. I had run about 100 to 150 feet from the church. When the priest had seen me fully dressed to take part in the Mass and seen how freaked out I was, he asked me what had happened, so I had told him what happened and what I had seen and felt. He tried to reassure me that it was probably my imagination, that it was an old church, and that it might have just been something falling or something mechanical. The thing is that I've been in that building long enough to know the sounds of the mechanical devices when they kick on and off. Another thing is that I know is that my imagination wouldn't give me that life-threatening feeling or being able to tell that there was something giving off such evil that it reverberated throughout my body. I've always been a skeptical person, even since I was this age, and not only that, I've never let my mind get the better of me. I've never lost my faith in God and His advisory, and I feel that's what this one was, some kind of evil spirit or demon, and since that day whenever I went into that church I always made sure that there would be someone else there so that I wouldn't have to come across that thing again. Then again, this would be the first time that I came across something like this, but then again that's a story for another time. It's because of this situation that I became curious about the paranormal, and yet I still try to rationalize everything. When dealing with a situation like this, I believe that saying, if you rule out the probable, all that remains, however improbable, must be possible.
Story 2. True, the Night in the Forest. So, I used to hear tons of stories about ghosts and also watch a lot of horror movies. But since I had never experienced any ghost encounters, I was a guy like, meh. These ghost stuffs are created by humans themselves to make money making movies about it and all other serials featuring ghost hunters. Okay, let's get to the story. One day, me and my two friends visited this spooky forest. Not nearby, but we managed to get there just to check it out, as we love the natural atmosphere. Giving my lungs some adrenaline of fresh air. The time we reached there was about 7 p.m. when it was already getting dark, and just to let you know, there's no light source in the forest except the exit of the forest area, so it was much darker than we expected. My friend had his Apple and I had my tab with dual flash, so we decided to use them to at least see each other. An hour passed by having conversation and smoking cigarettes. We were sitting under a tree as it was thick enough for all of us to lay our backs on it and sit relax. We were having a good time until we started hearing a sound, like two rocks are smashing into each other. Or one rock smashing on the ground again and again. We were pretty confused. I told my friends that it must be a cat trying to climb a tree, making the weak branches fall off, making it sound like the rock thing. But it didn't stop for like 3 or 4 minutes though. Now after some minutes it stopped for a while and we were still assuming it as an animal doing these sounds. Things went silent for 5 minutes. We started our conversation about this forest's atmosphere being so windy and cold. Then apparently a rock fell on my friend's head. Wonder how a rock can be up there on a tree. Just in 4 to 5 seconds a big branch from the tree fell on my lap scaring the shit out of me, and once again my friend felt like water drops falling on his neck from up the tree. How is there still a chance of water dropping down from a tree when the rainy season was already over 2 months ago? This night was clearly not our lucky night as we heard the same sound of the rock smash again, but now it sounds like it's getting closer. Immediately, without any options to choose, we decided to run out from the forest as quick as we could. We left the forest safe and sound and headed to our homes. After few days of incident, one of our friend posted a news about the same forest. There was a huge tower just like a lighthouse, as said by the post. We saw that tower from a distance but didn't get closer as it was a rocky area and there is a chance if one of us falls off the small cliff. So in the post, a boy was passing by the tower and the first thing he saw was a person but only his head. The post also said the police couldn't find the body but just the head of the man, which was already found by the same person who saw it while passing by. But the question is, what happened to this guy? How in the world can this ever happen to someone? It can be the drug addicts who made this forest to get high with brown sugar, or this guy is a drug addict getting his head torn off by someone? And the weird experience we had few days ago in the same forest, was this the same guy doing it after death? My questions are yet answered and I never visited that forest again, and so did anyone else. Story 3. True, can a mirror lie? My name isn't important, but what is important is that man. I am a 15-year-old male who became interested in spells at 13. I've spent the whole time between those ages experimenting with spells. Most turned out to be for summoning and others were curses. I devoted nearly a month trying to cast a curse on someone I wasn't particularly fond of. It succeeded, but that same night, I saw a man. He was dressed in a pitch-black trench coat and plague doctor's mask. He was only visible because of a slight glow coming from my charging phone. He didn't say a word, just stood and stared. I tried to ignore him by going to sleep, but the feeling of being watched became stronger. I woke to see him nearly a foot away from my face, breathing heavily. He then stood up and walked through the wall he was facing. That was my only encounter with him until about a month later. I was looking in the mirror after taking a shower. I saw him, standing behind me. This time he spoke. How do you continue? I didn't think about answering the question until he demanded me to do so. He angrily yelled, "Answer." My only response was that I didn't know. I waited to see if he wanted anything else from me. He said nothing. I turned to leave and he was gone. I checked the mirror again, and he wasn't there either. Since then I've perpetually felt like I was being watched. I've seen him on street corners, other seats in school and restaurants, and in the mirror as well. He continues to speak to me, but I never respond. For those getting interested in spellcasting, I would strongly advise against it.
Thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. And please like and subscribe to help support the channel.